Hello class, my name is Curtis White, and today I'm going to be giving my presentation from the following topic: should death penalty executions be televised? This is not about whether or not the death penalty is right or wrong, or we're talking about a moral issue, but rather should executions be shown live on television and become another reality TV program. In 1993, the average child living in the United States watched 10,000 murders, assaults, and other violent acts on television. And in 1997, that number climbed to 12,000 and is still rising. I can just imagine what that number is today. The Surgeon General's 2001 report cited statistical links between television watching and violent behaviors similar in strength to the evidence linking smoking with lung cancer. And it's for reasons like these that I strongly disagree with executions being live on television and becoming another reality TV show, and also for moral reasons. And I also stand on three different points that I want to use as examples. One, televising executions will create an unsettling spectacle in our society. Two, I believe methods used for execution will expose mistakes that might offend viewers. And three, televised executions also taints America's global image. Televising executions, my first point, will create an unsettling spectacle. On a side note, historically, executions have been public events attended by tens of thousands of people who had such a good time that one of the terms for celebration, the word gala, comes from the word gallows. Just for your information if you did not know that. But it is a fact that public executions were ended in 1936 because the spectacle of events surrounding a crowd of some 20,000 people who climbed telephone poles, stood on rooftops, and jammed streets in Owensboro, Kentucky to watch the hanging of an African-American man by the name of Rainey Bethea, who was convicted of raping his 70-year-old white employer. Reporters also blasted that they called the event Carnival in Owensboro. So what society has deemed as a moral outrage yesterday, why would we want to bring that back today as part of our society? My second point was methods used for execution will expose mistakes that might offend the audience. Executions are supposed to be conducted in a humane fashion, if that is even possible. We went away with firing squads, electric chairs, and gas chambers to the day's commonly used lethal injection method, turning it into a medical procedure complete with operating table and intravenous injections. But that also doesn't always work as smoothly, and mistakes would be televised if something was to happen. Point in case, in April 2004, the case of Clayton Lockett, the 38-year-old executee who that was on Oklahoma's death row, was declared unconscious 10 minutes after the first three drugs in the state's new lethal injection combination was administered. 3 minutes later, he began breathing heavily, writhing and clenching his teeth and appearing to struggle against the restraints holding him into his gurney. The officials later blamed a ruptured vein for the problems with the execution. So the blinds went down eventually to prevent those in the viewing gallery from watching, and the state's top prison officials later called a halt to the procedure. Lockett died of a heart attack 43 minutes later. So could you imagine 43 minutes with this being live on television and having to see this man go through what he went through? Even though what he did probably was horrendous, are we the type of society that want to glamorize murder in that way? And what about Michael Wilson, another death row inmate in Oklahoma who was killed in January in the same chamber, uttering his final words, "I feel my whole body burning." And while many have used the words botched to describe Lockett's execution, it wasn't botched at all. That's just how messy and complicated and disturbing it is to kill another human being. Is this the type of society we want to promote? And is this the type of reality TV we want our children to grow up on and witness? Also, televised execution taints America's global image. America has always taken the lead as an advocate for human rights around the globe, where the trend has been to renounce the use of the death penalty for instances in cases of mass murder like genocide. Now, according to the U.S. Department of State, because the promotion of human rights is an important national interest to the United States seeks to hold governments accountable to their obligations under the universal human rights norms and international human rights instruments. We look to promote greater respect for human rights, including freedom from torture, freedom of expression, press freedom, women's rights, children's rights, and the protection of minorities. We look to promote the rule of the law, seek accountability, and to change cultures of impunity. This is not the America that wants to now embrace public executions. Now, supporters of public executions say that given that America has voted to execute people, then America should be able to see or hear what they have chosen. They also believe that those that believe that public executions serve as a crime deterrent. And, we have programs like Scared Straight, and that's not always necessarily the case. So I have discussed why I object to televised executions. Televising them will create an unsettling spectacle. The methods that will be used will expose mistakes that might offend viewers, and televised execution taints the America's global image. In closing, Wendy Lesser, founding editor of the Three Penny Review, in her 1993 book that was titled Pictures at an Execution, an inquiry into the subject of murder, wrote this: "We have sometimes found peace in visiting a friend or family member in his or her last hours or minutes. But what brings the peace is our love, the final affirmation of our shared lives, to take satisfaction from watching another human being die, even one who was an enemy, is to diminish, pervert our own humanity, and it no more purges our grief than a raging scream." This is my position. I hope you are persuaded to stand with me on not supporting public executions. And thank you for tuning into my presentation. Thank you.